Hello and welcome. You're watching a News Central TV. I am Judith at TV. Here are some stories making rounds beyond the continent. And we begin in Northern America, where authorities have confirmed that 4 people were killed and 9 others injured in a shooting at Appalachia High School in Winder, northern Georgia, on Wednesday morning, adding another tragic chapter to America's ongoing gun violence crisis. The shooter, identified as 14-year-old student Colt Gray, has been taken into custody and will be charged with murder as an adult. Georgia Bureau of Investigation Director Chris Jose reported that the victims included 2 students and 2 teachers. The alleged shooter used an AR platform-style weapon, and authorities confirmed that no other suspects were involved in the incident. In response to the incident, the Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris called for urgent action, urging Americans to confront and end the epidemic of gun violence that continues to plague the country.
Colt, that's C-O-L-T, Gray. He is a 14-year-old student here at the school, G-R-A-Y. He is a 14-year-old student here at the high school. Again, he has been taken into custody. He will be charged with murder, and he will be tried as an adult. There are 4 individuals who are deceased from this incident, 9 that have been taken to local hospitals with various injuries. Of those that are deceased, 2 are students and 2 are...
Russian President Vladimir Putin has stated his support for U.S. Vice President Kamala Harris in the upcoming November presidential election. In an interview, Putin remarked that he would back Harris because current U.S. President Joe Biden has urged his supporters to do so. Known for his often sarcastic remarks on U.S. political matters, Putin previously described the American political system as rotten, claiming that Washington lacks the credibility to lecture other countries on democracy. Putin's comments come a day after the United States indicted 2 employees of the state-run Russian news network RT and imposed sanctions on its top editors, accusing them of attempting to influence the upcoming U.S. election.
Не нам это определять. Это все-таки выбор американского народа. И, я уже говорил, у нас, фаворитом, если можно так сказать, был действующий президент, господин Байден. Вот его сняли с гонки, но он рекомендовал всем своим сторонникам поддержать госпожу Харрис. Вот и мы тоже так сделаем, будем ее поддерживать. Это, во-первых. А во-вторых...
Раззавещали, значит, надо, да?
Выразительно и заразительно смеется, что это говорит о том, что у нее все хорошо. А если у нее все хорошо, то Трамп, он же ввел столько количества всяких ограничений и санкций в отношении России, сколько для него ни один президент раньше не вводил. А если у госпожи Харрис все хорошо, то, может быть, она воздержится от таких действий подобного рода. В конечном итоге выбор за американским народом, и мы с уважением будем относиться к этому выбору.
The Colombian government has issued an urgent call for transporters protesting against the rise in the price of diesel to set up supply corridors in response to warnings of food shortages in several cities. Hundreds of trucks have been blocking access roads to Bogota and major Colombian cities, either partially or completely, since Monday, in response to an increase of 46% or 46 cents per gallon of diesel. Since Saturday, the administration of leftist Gustavo Petro has raised the price of fuel used by most cargo vehicles in a country where river and railway transport are precarious. Diesel prices fell to around $2.7 per gallon, a price that remains one of the lowest in the region, only above Ecuador and Bolivia, according to the Colombian government.
Queremos que la comunidad nos entienda que esto es por un bien común. Es un bien común que si nos suben a nosotros los combustibles, se nos va a poner cara la canasta familiar. Entonces queremos que seamos conscientes y nos tengan un poquito de paciencia.
Dice que vuelva al precio como tal la CPM. En este momento estamos perjudicados. La canasta familiar, el mal pago de los fletes. Entonces estamos pidiendo al gobierno nacional, al señor Petro, para que nos ayude con eso. Y no vamos a parar hasta que nos dé solución al problema.
And we're taking it back to the shooting, the school shooting in Georgia, where the shooter had been identified as 14-year-old student Colt Gray, who has been taken into custody and be charged with murder as an adult. Now, the shooting resulted to the death of 4 persons, including 2 students and 2 teachers. Now, joining us to have a conversation on gun control and the laws in Nigeria, United States of America, I beg your pardon. We're joined by Global Affairs Analyst Lloyd Uku. Well, Lloyd, thank you so much for coming on. I appreciate you for doing this with us.
Is it okay?
Lloyd.
If you can tilt it down.
Well, if it's not live television, I don't know what to tell you. Let's go on a short break. We have more stories. Stay with us. And you're welcome back. Following the shooting in Georgia at the high school that resulted to 4 victims dying, 2 students and 2 teachers, we're now joined by Global Affairs Analyst Lloyd Uku, and he joins us to discuss U.S. gun violence crisis. Well, thank you so much for joining us, sir. Let's get started very quickly because we're pressed for time. I mean, let's start with the root causes of, U.S. gun violence and the crisis. And just really, is it a matter of no control in terms of, giving out these guns, or is this just a lack of legislation or political power or political will by the ruling power or the ruling class to be able to curb this crisis or this menace?
Thank you very much for having me again. The issue of gun violence in the United States is a very complex one with multiple factors contributing to its prevalence. Here in the United States, the right to bear arms is guaranteed by the Second Amendment of the United States Constitution. If you ask me, that is the beginning of the issue of gun violence. In simple terms, the Second Amendment protects an individual's right to possess a firearm unconnected with service in a militia and to use that arm for traditionally lawful purposes such as self-defense within your home. The Second Amendment was ratified in 1791, and it allows people to protect themselves. But here are some of the reasons why the problem continues to persist. Aside from the fact that it's grounded in their ground norm, it's grounded in the Constitution, and we don't have enough time to go into the historical perspective of that. But suffice it to say that when the first colonies settled in the United States from England, they put some of these things in place based on their past experience when they were in England. They wanted to make sure that they're protected against government intrusion. The first problem I see is easy access to firearms. Here in the United States, it's very easy for you to get firearms. You can go walk into a gun store as you go, as though you're walking into a supermarket, and provide your driver's license and walk out of the store with a gun. That's what I see as the number one problem. The second problem is the mental health issue situation, where people who have mental problems, because of the ease with which you can procure these guns, oftentimes walk into these stores and buy guns. And if they have mental issues, they are more likely to misuse those guns. Then you can get into social and economic factors where you have poverty, unemployment, social inequality, and the feeling of hopelessness and frustration, leading to increased violence. There's also this issue of cultural glorification of violence. You go to our movies, you go to things that happen around us, you see a lot of media and societal normalization of violence.
Then what then will be a lasting solution to this problem? Because this is what, number 47th incident in this year alone. And so what then is a solution, a lasting solution? Can the Republicans, the blue and the red, that's the Republicans and the Democrats, come together to find a lasting solution so that innocent people would stop losing their lives, and people who are not fit to carry firearms cannot go in and get assault rifles and carry out such, insidious or hideous crimes?
Well, as I said earlier in the beginning, it's a very complex case, simply because of the constitutional protection of the individual's rights to carry arms. Because of the fact that it's grounded in our constitution here, it becomes difficult to do anything that will infringe on that right. Another aspect is the powerful lobby, what a group called the National Rifle Association. It is almost said that if you oppose the guns, ability for Americans to carry guns, you're almost likely to lose an election, because they have a very powerful lobby that will go after you. So because the problem is, because of the complexity of the problem, you need to deal with the situation holistically. That is to say, some of the issues that I just enumerated would have to be addressed. How people go about getting guns, how you treat people who have mental issues, how you handle the issue of the cultural glorification of violence. All of these things must come, into play before you solve the issue of gun violence in the United States. It's a very complex issue for which the Republicans are usually in support of freedom of people to carry arms. The Democrats, try to pass some laws, legislations to curb the access to guns, and the people resist it. The people want the freedom to carry their guns. So it's very complex, and I don't want to be pessimistic by saying that it's a very difficult problem to take care of here in the United States.
I wonder what that would be. I mean, when it comes to whether background checks and red flag laws are enough, to curb, and if there should be more in terms of implementation and more policies to help safeguard and just reduce situations like this. But Mr. Lloyd, we want to say thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for doing this with us, sir.
You're welcome. Anytime.
We'll switch gears now to Europe, where French President Emmanuel Macron has appointed Michel Barnier, the European Union's former Brexit negotiator, as the new Prime Minister. This move aims to resolve the political deadlock that has persisted for 2 months following snap elections. Barnier, the oldest premier in more than French history, is charged with forming a unifying government. Barnier, who succeeded Gabriel Attal, 35, who served only 8 months during a tumultuous period, represents a significant shift in leadership. Macron's choice to bring in Barnier, a member of the right-wing Republicans and not aligned with his centrist faction, has stirred opposition from the left, which is preparing a no-confidence motion against him. In the meantime, President Vladimir Putin has reiterated that his primary goal in Ukraine is to capture the eastern Donbass region, a mission he claims has been made easier by Ukraine's counter-offensive. Now, speaking at an economic forum in Vladivostok, Putin also stated that Moscow remains open to negotiations with Kyiv based on an abandoned agreement reached in Istanbul in 2022. Throughout 30 months of fighting, Russia has adjusted its objectives in Ukraine, especially after failing to capture Kyiv in 2022. Putin's remarks comes as Russian forces make rapid advances westwards in the Donbass this summer.
Вооруженных сил сделать все для того, чтобы выбросить противника с этих территорий и надежно защитить наших граждан. Ну и вся страна, конечно, должна делать все для того, чтобы людей поддержать. Наши войска ускорили наступательные операции. Давно не было таких приобретений территориальных. Вот позавчера только, например, группировка «Восток» прямо в один удар, треугольник захватила 7 на 5 километров. Очень успешно действует и группировка «Центр» на Донецком, на Покровском направлении. Там тоже исчисляются уже приобретения не сотнями метров, а квадратными километрами. Но нам удалось договориться. В этом-то весь фокус, о чем свидетельствует и подпись главы украинской делегации, которая парафировала этот документ, а значит, украинскую сторону в целом достигнутой договоренности устроили, не вступила в силу только потому, что...
German police shot and killed a man who opened fire on them with a vintage rifle near the Israeli consulate in Munich on Thursday, in what authorities are treating as a forward attack on the diplomatic mission. The gunman, identified as an 18-year-old Austrian, was killed in a barrage of police bullets. Officials have not confirmed media reports suggesting he was a known Islamist extremist. Although the motive remains unclear, Bavaria's Interior Minister Joachim Harman stated that the incident is being treated as a possible attack on an Israeli institution. The shootout, which occurred around 9 a.m., triggered a massive police response involving about 500 officers. Downtown Munich was locked down as residents and office workers sheltered indoors amid wailing sirens and helicopter surveillance. Meanwhile, Germany's Interior Minister Nancy Faeser has emphasized that the protection of Jewish and Israeli institutions is a top priority. Her statement comes after a gunman was shot dead by police near the Israeli consulate in central Munich following an exchange of gunfire. The incident occurred on the 52nd anniversary of the tragic attack on the Israeli Olympic team in 1972 by the Palestinian militant group, adding a somber backdrop to the security concerns surrounding Israeli sites in Germany.
Ich bedanke mich ganz herzlich bei der Münchner Polizei, die da einen guten Einsatz aus meiner Sicht machen. Das ist schwierig. Wir gedenken dort wirklich an die Einsatzkräfte der Polizei, sind mit Gedanken dort und wollen nicht spekulieren jetzt, was dort geschehen ist. Wir müssen jetzt abwarten. Der Schutz jüdischer und israelischer Einrichtungen, das wissen Sie, hat oberste Priorität. Das ist natürlich sehr bitter, dass es ausgerechnet dort vor dem NS-Dokumentationszentrum und Generalkonsulat von Israel stattgefunden hat.
And off to the Middle East, where Hamas on Thursday accused Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu of attempting to tout a Gaza truce deal after Netanyahu claimed the militant group has rejected everything in ongoing negotiations. The accusations come as Netanyahu faces growing pressure to secure an agreement that would lead to the release of remaining hostages following the announcement by Israeli authorities on Sunday of the recovery of 6 bodies from a Gaza tunnel. Netanyahu insists that Israel must maintain control of the Philadelphia corridor along the Egypt-Gaza border to prevent weapons smuggling to Hamas, whose October 7th attack on Israel sparked the current conflict. Hamas, however, demands a full Israeli withdrawal from the area and accused Netanyahu of using the border control issue to derail peace efforts, arguing that a truce was already agreed upon months ago under a plan outlined by U.S. President Joe Biden.
اتفاق يجب أن يتضمن وقفا شاملا للعدوان على شعبنا الفلسطيني وانسحابا كاملا من قطاع غزة بما فيه محور فيلادلفيا ومعبر رفح وحرية عودة النازحين إلى بيوتهم بحرية ودون أي إعاقة أو أي تفتيش وإغاثة شعبنا وإعادة إعمار ما دمره الاحتلال وصولا إلى إنجاز صفقة حقيقية وجادة لتبادل الأسرى. إننا لسنا بحاجة إلى أوراق جديدة وأي مقترحات جديدة من أي طرف كان. يجب أن تبحث بشكل أساسي في إلزام الاحتلال وحكومته الفاشية بتنفيذ ما تم التوافق عليه، لا العودة إلى نقطة الصفر ولا الدوران في ذات الحلقة المفرغة التي تحقق مراد وأهداف نتنياهو. إن على الإدارة الأمريكية ورئيسها بايدن إن أرادت الوصول فعلا إلى صفقة ووقف لإطلاق النار وإنجاز هذه الصفقة بشكل جدي وفعال، عليها التخلي عن انحيازها الأعمى للاحتلال الصهيوني ودعمها اللامحدود لهذه الحكومة الفاشية وممارسة ضغط حقيقي على نتنياهو وحكومته وإلزامه.
That's all the stories we can take beyond the continent. Now remember that you can send us your eyewitness report to the WhatsApp number now showing on the screen. And while you're at it, make sure to follow us on social media. We're at News Central TV. You can also watch News Central live on DSTV channel 422, Star Times channel 274, Avo TV, or stream us live on YouTube. Many thanks for watching. I am Judith TV.